The air in the small town of Waverly, Ohio always seemed a bit heavier during autumn. The fog hung low over the hills, and the trees, once vibrant with color, now looked like clawed hands reaching toward a pale sky. That season, 24-year-old Emily Foster returned home from college to visit her grandmother, who had recently fallen ill. But what started as a comforting family reunion quickly spiraled into a chilling mystery, one tied to a collection of old photographs found in her grandmother's attic. Emily had always been curious. A photography major at NYU, she loved capturing forgotten corners of life, abandoned buildings, dusty mirrors, and people lost in their thoughts. She thought she had seen the strangest things through her lens. She was wrong. Her grandmother's home sat at the edge of town, nestled between thick woods and the lazy curve of Waverly Creek. It was a home built in the 1940s, its walls worn but still sturdy. The attic had always been off-limits growing up. Her grandmother, Agnes, insisted that it was too dangerous with loose boards and nails. But on the second day of her visit, when Agnes had fallen asleep after her medication, Emily found herself drawn to the narrow staircase leading up to it. Dust swirled in the air like snow as Emily pulled open the creaky attic door. She climbed carefully, flashlight in hand, and found boxes piled high, untouched for decades. She brushed off a wooden crate labeled Foster Family Memories. Inside were yellowed newspaper clippings, war medals, old letters, and a worn-out photo album wrapped in cloth. She felt a strange chill as she opened it. The first page held a photo of her great-grandfather, Thomas Foster, in uniform. He stood beside a woman with an unreadable expression. Her eyes seemed too wide, her mouth twisted slightly as if caught in a grimace. Emily paused. There was something unnatural about the photo, as though the woman had been stitched into it. But that wasn't possible. Right. Turning the pages, Emily began to notice a pattern. In nearly every photograph, a dark figure appeared somewhere in the background. Sometimes it was just a shadow behind a tree. Other times it was more distinct, a tall figure in the distance, wearing something dark and dated. She might have dismissed it as a trick of the camera or film damage if not for the last photo. It was taken in the very same attic. The camera seemed pointed from the corner near the window. In the image, a young girl, no older than 10, stood in the middle of the room, wearing a frilly white dress. Her face was pale, her eyes vacant. And standing behind her, almost obscured by shadows, was the dark figure again. But this time, it looked closer, almost touching her shoulder. Emily stared at the photo. A cold wave passed over her skin, and for a moment, she thought she felt someone behind her. She turned, flashlight trembling, but the attic was empty. She backed away slowly, clutching the album to her chest, and hurried down the stairs. That night, she showed the album to her grandmother, who had grown noticeably more agitated as she flipped through the photos. "Where did you find this?" Agnes asked, her voice frail but firm. "In the attic," Emily said. "What's going on, Grandma? Who is that figure in the background of all these?" Agnes hesitated, then whispered, "Some things are best left alone, Em. That album belonged to your great-grandmother. She believed something followed our family." Emily leaned in. "Followed? A spirit? Or something like it?" She said it attached to people in photos. She thought every time someone took a picture, it moved a little closer. At first, she said it was nothing, just a trick of the light. But the more photos she took, the clearer it became. And it always showed up behind the people she loved. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Did she make that up? I don't know. But she stopped taking photos after your grandfather died in a fire. She blamed that thing. After that, she kept the album locked away. And so did I. Emily couldn't sleep that night. The attic door creaked even when no one walked nearby. The wind outside howled louder than usual, and once or twice, she swore she heard footsteps above her bedroom. The next morning, she resolved to investigate further. She took the album into town, visiting the Waverly Historical Society. A kind older man named Mr. Carrington, the local historian, was intrigued by the photos. "You say these belong to the Foster family?" he asked, adjusting his glasses. "Yes. My great-grandmother took them." Carrington flipped through them slowly, stopping on the image of the young girl in the attic. "I've seen this before," he said after a long pause. Emily's eyebrows lifted. What do you mean? There was a story, local legend, really, about a girl named Anna Caldwell. She lived in a nearby house, burned down in the 30s. She disappeared shortly after the fire. No remains were ever found. But people claimed to see her, always in photographs, always just watching. He pointed to the figure in the attic photo. And that's the thing people started calling the Watcher. Every time someone died under strange circumstances in Waverly, this thing showed up somewhere in their old photos. Just like this. Emily felt her mouth go dry. Are you saying my family is cursed? I'm saying, Carrington said gently, that some stories have more truth than we want to believe. When she returned home, Emily decided to photograph the attic herself. Maybe she could capture something, or at least put her fears to rest. She set up her camera on a tripod, aimed it toward the corner where the last photo had been taken, and left it to take interval shots every 5 minutes. She returned an hour later, alone. Her grandmother was asleep again, and the house was silent. She scrolled through the digital images on her camera, and then she froze. There, in the last 5 frames, the shadow returned. In the first shot, nothing was there. In the second, a shape began to form in the corner. By the third, the outline of a tall human-like figure was clearly visible, though faint. In the fourth, it was unmistakably looking toward the camera. And in the fifth, its face was pressed up against the lens. Emily dropped the camera. Her heart thundered in her chest. She rushed down the stairs, barely noticing the sound of something heavy moving above her. That night, she packed the photo album, the camera, and the memory card into a sealed box and drove it to the town cemetery. Following impulse or perhaps fear, she buried it near her grandfather's grave. She didn't know if it would stop anything, but she knew she couldn't keep it. A few days later, her grandmother passed in her sleep. At the funeral, relatives came from out of town. While comforting each other and sharing stories, her cousin Madison pulled Emily aside. "Hey, weird question," she said, pulling out her phone. "I was looking through old family photos and found this one. It's me, you, and Grandma, maybe from 5 or 6 years ago. But look at the window behind us." Emily took the phone. Behind their smiling faces, in the second-story window of her grandmother's home, stood a tall figure in the shadows. It wasn't the reflection of a person. It was darker than shadow, almost hollow, yet unmistakably there. Madison chuckled nervously. "Creepy, right? Like something out of a horror movie." Emily didn't respond. Her fingers trembled as she deleted the photo from the phone, pretending it was an accident. Madison laughed it off, but Emily knew it wasn't.